From the alley-oops at Keyshaw to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way. From off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time, and it is time to talk off-season. 49ers have a bunch of free agents and not much cap room, so we're going to discuss who's staying, who's going, and who we just have to let go because of financial reasons.
It's always a tough time of year when you're a good team with a lot of good players. You're always going to have to see some good players go, some guys that you don't want to see go, make tough decisions, but these are the kind of decisions that separate the continual winning teams from the teams that just win once in a while.
Correct, and I don't think any of us were really thinking we were sitting down right now at this point in January to discuss this, but it is what it is. We're here now. It's got to get done.
Well, you could discuss it if they were in the playoffs, too.
I mean, you could in theory, but we'd have much more pressing, more important things to discuss other than who the upcoming free agents were. You know, we're going to get to 6, but it's fine. We got next year for that. Right now, we got free agents we need to tackle. We're going to do it position by position. We're going to start with offensive players. For this episode of the pod, we got quarterbacks up first.
The Seahawks have a big game coming up this week.
Oh, no, they do not, sir. No, they do not. You know, ironically, quarterback play. They got to figure out what they're going to do in Los Angeles and potentially.
Russ's off-season activities are now unlimited.
That's true. They are. You know, we should call him up, put him up again, and see what he's doing if he wants to come back on and help us out. But until that time comes, quarterbacks up first. And what is the quarterback situation looking like free agent wise?
Well, we got CJ Beathard that's going to be an unrestricted free agent, and then we got Nick Mullins that's going to be a restricted free agent. But Nick Mullins is coming off the injury, so I wonder if the 49ers really want to tender him a contract, and if they do, what exactly are they going to offer? I doubt they'll put any high tender on him, so I think that he will probably, he might come back now, especially with the injury. I'll be honest, I'm ready to move on from Nick Mullins. I wouldn't mind CJ Beathard coming back at a very minimal price, because he just hasn't proven that he can be a great backup, but maybe as a third guy. But they're definitely going to have to address it, because for the first time in a few years, this room is going to be short at least one guy. And that's not even to mention if anything is to happen with the number one guy, Jimmy Garoppolo. The 49ers would save a hefty amount of money if he left, somewhere in the neighborhood of $23 million if he's gone. That is a huge cap saving. So all the rumors about the 49ers moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo might be financially based. John Lynch says he doesn't have to go to Jimmy yet to find money. I'm saying since he's not negotiating that yet, that means he's possibly on the move, because you wouldn't negotiate with him, and if you were going to keep him, you definitely already negotiate. So it's going to be interesting what the 49ers do with the rest of the quarterback position.
Yeah, to me at the quarterback position, it's pretty simple regarding the free agents. Mullins with that injury, I wouldn't bring him back. That's a real serious injury. His play wasn't very inspiring anyways. With Beathard, maybe at the veteran minimum. And the only reason it becomes a little more important if they do move on from Jimmy, and especially if they were to bring a rookie in, Beathard could help teach the offense to the young person.
Very true.
Even to another veteran, Beathard could be a helpful guy to bounce stuff off. So that might be his saving grace in regarding to coming back to the Niners. But if Jimmy's back, I'd probably let both these guys kick rocks.
That's the question, right? Is Jimmy coming back? I think you kind of have to, at this point, assume that there's a good chance maybe not, especially with what you talked about, Ant, being completely accurate and factual, the fact that the Niners can save somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million if he's not on the roster. It kind of just seems like a no-brainer that you kind of have to move on, especially with the Niners only having about, $23 million in cap space somewhere?
Yeah, they have $23 million, so they would double their cap space.
Double their cap space in one move. We had talked, I don't know, we had talked a little bit about the potentiality of D Ford, but D Ford this year doesn't save us as much as a move like Jimmy would. So I think there's a high possibility and high likelihood that he's probably gone and we're going a different direction. And if, like as Horst just said, if you're going to get rid of Jimmy and move on from him. I think you kind of have to keep Beathard around as the holdover quarterback who's got the experience in the system that can help the next person develop and understand the system a little bit better. Right now, this last season, he only made about $800,000, just over that was what his cap hit was, what his salary was. So you could keep him around, like as Horst said, for the vet minimum and not have to pay him a whole heck of a lot of money. Not going to eat a lot into that cap space. So getting rid of Jimmy, re-signing Beathard, not going to hurt you that much. You're still going to, like you said, double the cap amount. The question is, though, in what way do we get rid of him? Do we just cut him? Do we try and deal him and save the money that way? I don't know. I don't know what deal could possibly be out there to get. I know people are talking about Deshaun Watson, but that's going to be a very, very hefty price to pay.
I think if you're going to move Jimmy, you're going to trade him. You'll just take whatever you can get in compensation. And I still think their ultimate hope is probably to keep him, only because you're not sure you can replace him with a better replacement, and if you can't improve at the position, then you have to stand pat at the position. And so right now, until I see something that is firm as better that's available, I would say right now Jimmy's going to be on the roster, which means we're going to be cutting it short as far as money, Horse. So when we get into these running backs, that's been the staple of the 49ers for the last few years, but some of these guys are going to have to go, and we have some big free agents. Horse, what about these running backs? Who's going to stay and who's going to go that's available?
Well, right off the bat, Tevin Coleman and McKinnon, both nice players, guys that I'm fond of. They're both going to be gone.
Which is $5 million.
Jeff Wilson is a guy that he's restricted free agent. I'd be shocked if the 49ers didn't bring him back. I think they really like Jeff Wilson. He really complements Raheem Mostert well with kind of different running styles. If they could both stay healthy for more than 3 games at a time, it'd be fantastic. But I'd expect him back. And then the one unrestricted free agent in this group that you have to bring back is Kyle Juszczyk. Kyle Juszczyk is one of the key cogs to their offense, one of the most important players out there. I know he doesn't get big yards, touchdowns, catches, but he does get the ball a lot for a fullback, and he's just integral in every part of that offense. Blocking, he's a receiving threat, he's a running threat, he's as important as anyone on the whole offense. So I think, to me, he's a priority.
How much do you think it's going to cost to bring back a guy like Kyle Juszczyk, though? It was $5.25 million was his cap hit this last season. Realistically, what are you thinking in terms of the number for him to come back?
It all depends on what his market value is, because more than likely there's a team out there that's going to offer him even more than $5.2 million. I think at anything other than a team discount, he is going to be moving on, because he can go get $6.5-7 million from somebody that's looking to improve their team that has a lot of cap space. The 49ers would have to get him at kind of a lower price, maybe in the $4 million range.
$4.5 million.
I'm not sure he's willing to do that. I'm not even sure he's willing to take the same amount that he got this year. So unfortunately, it's going to be hard to keep him. I could see him moving on because somebody's going to offer him a lot of money.
I do agree with you there. Someone is going to offer him a lot of money. Someone is going to try and sway him. The question becomes, how well does he enjoy the running back room here in San Francisco? How much does he enjoy playing in San Francisco for Kyle Shanahan? And then how badly does Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch value Kyle Juszczyk? You know that there is obviously value there. They traded for him. They like the guy a lot. The question is, though, is how much do you like him? And I think guys like him, guys like Juszczyk, guys like Trent Williams, Kyle Williams, almost molded the two together into a super player. That would be incredible.
Say that name again.
Kyle Williams. I think that the guys like that's value, and how much you're going to be willing to spend or maybe even overpay to keep them here is going to determine, I think, partially what they do with a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo and whether you move on. Because if you feel the run game success is dependent on having Kyle Juszczyk back there leading and laying out those blocks and being the dominant force he is in the run game as well as in play action, then you kind of have to get off of Jimmy's salary and make room to maybe have to overpay them, or at least get closer to paying them. As you said, a team-friendly discount. If he can go out and get $7 million and you can pay $6 million and he'll stay, then you may have to overpay about $1 million more than what you'd like. You said the number was about $4 million, hopefully. I was thinking somewhere along the lines of 4.5 in order to keep him here if he's willing to take that kind of a discount. If he's not and he has to stay, Lynch and Shanahan looking at it like he has to be here, then you might have to pay 6.5 to keep him here, and that's a lot of money for a fullback. I don't know if that's reasonable or even doable in the NFL. It's tough to say. As Horst said, Jeff Wilson is one that's restricted. It's a little probably more realistic that he's going to be coming back. They're not going to offer put a first or a second round tender on him.
They
most
might
likely,
put a second.
maybe a second. But no matter what, they're going to put something on there that's going to make a team think once or twice about a tender on him. That they're going to make them think about whether or not it's worth even going after and attempting him. Because as you've seen running backs before in this league in a Kyle Shanahan system blow up, go other places, and then do absolutely nothing once they're out of Shanahan's system. That's going to weigh heavily on a lot of teams' minds. I think that benefits us in regards to the actual running backs. Definitely doesn't benefit us in the sense of Kyle Juszczyk, though.
Yeah, Wilson had 10 touchdowns this year, so that's going to jump off the page for anyone that's looking for a running back. He runs hard. He plays physical. Those are all things that teams are going to be looking for. The 49ers are going to have to make sure they do a good job of keeping him. With Kyle Juszczyk, this is the real worry. Is I honestly feel that he might not be back. I think they really want him back. I just don't think the money is going to meet the talent and what he's going to be able to get on the open market. So I think, unfortunately, they're going to have to move on with him. And then I think Kyle is going to adjust to either drafting someone that's a tight end that can play that, or maybe they already did with Charlie Warner. They were getting ahead of the game. Maybe possibly he can play that role, and then you free up the roster spot that you would have for a fullback because you have a tight end that can do multiple things. And also George Kittle could do it. Ross Dwelley can do it. He's proved it in the past. So now you just have tight ends kind of play that role. Will they be as good as Juice? I doubt it. But saving the money to be able to keep other players at other positions might be exactly what they need.
According to YouTube statistics, most of the people who watch this show aren't subscribed. How dare you? You should totally and 100% click that subscribe button. It says it right down there. It scrolls like every 20 seconds. I don't even know how you could miss it and how you could just not do it. It really hurts. It really does. So make sure you hit that subscribe button.
We're sensitive.
We are. We are sensitive. Position that isn't sensitive, though, is the tight end position. A crucial piece in the offensive puzzle that is an enigma in Kyle Shanahan's system. Tight end free agents. Who do we have? Who do we need to keep? Who's important in this vital, crucial aspect of Kyle Shanahan's enigma offensive system?
Well, Jordan Reed is a free agent, and he made just over $1 million this year. And then Ross Dwelley is a free agent. He's a restricted free agent, so I'm guessing that they were going to do their best to hold on to Ross Dwelley. But I don't think they're going to be able to hold on to Jordan Reed. He played good enough this year, stayed healthy besides the ankle injury. But I think the concussions was the real concern. Now that is kind of in the rearview mirror, somebody's going to open up the pocketbook for him, and he's going to get a good contract because he proved that he can play tight end still at a high level. And there's other opportunities out there and other teams that are going to be willing to pay him to be a red zone threat. So I look for Ross Dwelley to come back, and I look for Jordan Reed to move on and go tear it up somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that one. Jordan Reed is a guy, obviously, all of us that I'm sure everyone associated with the 49ers would love to have back. And if they could get him back on a similar salary, they would jump at the chance. Unfortunately, I do not think that's happening. I'm thinking he's going to get at least $5 or $6 million a year offered by someone. And if you're Jordan Reed, you can't pass that kind of raise, and the Niners can't afford that. So I'm pretty sure it's bye-bye to Jordan Reed. Dwelley's a guy that they seem to really like. He's a good blocker. He's a solid possession tight end. We're seeing him. He's not athletic enough. He's not going to break a big play like George Kittle, but if you hit him and he's open, he's going to catch it. So he's a very solid second tight end to Kittle, and I think they're going to keep him around.
Definitely would be surprised if they didn't. They're definitely going to offer him. He may be another guy who gets a second round tender or something along that nature for Dwelley. I'm not as convinced that Jordan Reed is going to end up getting that bigger contract. He did miss a lot of games, and there were a lot of teams that's a big red flag for them is Reed's health. That's why a lot of places weren't willing to even take a chance on him to begin with. I know he didn't have any of the concussion issues this year, which was the big one, but the ankle injury didn't help. He had a little bit of the knee stuff too as well. So it may not be as high of a price tag as what more closer to what you were saying, Horst, where you were thinking like $5 or $6 million. I could see a team going in the 3.5, 4 maybe range, maybe. And in the 3.5, $4 million range, I still think that's too expensive for the Niners to go after for a second option at tight end when you got a guy like Kittle that you're already paying a lot of money to. You got a lot of money tied up with Jimmy Garoppolo. But if he's not getting that, or if he's getting somewhere along the lines of the low 3s, 2s, is there a chance that Jordan Reed would be willing to take a discount to stay in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan in that system and take another 1 year or short-term deal to see if he can't get a Super Bowl ring with the Niners? Do you think that's a possibility, Ant or Horst?
Only if Jimmy Garoppolo or somebody better than that is playing quarterback. He sure as heck ain't playing with Nick Mullins or CJ Beathard at quarterback. He was very frustrated with him this year, and I think that frustration is going to be the reason that he possibly moves on. Now, he is very, very close with Trent Williams, and he has a good relationship with Kyle Shanahan, so those are always good, but I still fear that he's going to get a bigger contract. I think Horst is right. I think it's going to be upwards of $5 million, and I think someone will give him a 1-year deal, kind of a prove-it thing, but you just can't pass up that. He played this year on the cheap contract to prove he could do it, possibly win a ring. Now it's time to go cash in before his career is over, and I think that's what he'll do. It's time to start dancing because Kendrick Bourne is a free agent, and last year the 49ers offered him that tender. They gave him a second-round tender, so he made about $3.2 million last year, which made him the highest-paid receiver on the 49ers. We have 2 free agents at the position, Horst. We have him, and we have Trent Taylor. Are both of them gone? Are both of them coming back? What's your thought on this?
My thoughts on Taylor are that he's definitely gone. He didn't even see the field towards the end of the year. I like Trent Taylor. He looked like he had a good future in front of him his first year. Then he got that foot injury. Seems to never regain his elite agility and speed afterwards. So unfortunately, I think he's gone. Kendrick Bourne is a very solid player, but he, at the price tag that some other team is going to throw at him, he's expendable to the 49ers. He's one of those guys that, he had 40, 50 catches on the Niners, and the Niners are a good team. Let's throw him $5 million a year, and he's not worth that. I think he's a solid player, but he's, as we've spoken about in the past, if he's your 4th or 5th wide receiver, you have a good receiving core. If he's your 2nd receiver, your receiving core needs help. And if you're paying him that much money, you're not paying him to be your 4th or 5th receiver. So I like the guy, but I think we've seen the last of Kendrick Bourne in the 49ers uniform as well.
And thank goodness for that. Good.
He's so much better than you ever were.
Riddance. My word. I am so happy that this dude is a free agent. I'm so glad he's not a restricted free agent. Listen, there are a lot of good qualities about Kendrick Bourne, and then there's a lot of things that I just cannot figure out. The fact that the dude can't seem to get open on any other down other than 3rd down. The fact that he can't catch a ball when he does get open on anything else other than a 3rd down or in the red zone. He doesn't do enough to justify, as you had just said, any sort of amount of money that would be equivalent to what your number 2 or number 1 or even your number 3 wide receivers would be making in any organization whatsoever. Someone is going to pay him that money. Someone is going to regret paying him that money, and I'm just glad it's not going to be San Francisco. Goodbye, good riddance. Go celebrate catching first down passes when your team's down 30 with the Jacksonville Jaguars next year, or whoever ends up paying you a stupid amount of money. And what are you feeling on this? I hope they don't.
Just to make you mad.
I'm going to cry.
I don't think he's going to make a stupid amount of money, but I think as a 3rd receiver somewhere, somebody will definitely value that. He had 700 yards receiving, so people are going to look at his numbers and realize that he was catching the ball from, quarterbacks that weren't Jimmy Garoppolo, that weren't top end, and they're going to say, okay, this guy's a possession guy that we can use, and that he's always healthy, he's always on the field. Those are qualities that people are going to like and they're going to pay, which means he's going to make, upwards of $5-6 million. And that's just too much for the 49ers, especially when they still have Travis Benjamin on the roster, even though he opted out. We have him for $1 million, and we have Richie James still there. So those guys fill in for the loss of Trent Taylor and for Kendrick Bourne. They're set up. If we get the reemergence of Jalen Hurd, and then the 49ers are looking good with Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurd, Travis Benjamin, and Richie James, and then you still have Jawan Jennings also there. So could the 49ers also add another guy? I think it's possible, maybe even a speed threat. I think that's what they've always wanted from Richie James. He's never quite panned out to that. Maybe now he gets his opportunity. One thing I do know is that if Jimmy Garoppolo is not the quarterback, it's not the smartest thing to have Trent Taylor-style players because the other quarterbacks can't find them. But the guys who play for the Patriots can find those little shifty, short receivers that can make plays, and Wes Welker types. So I think that the quarterback will also determine some of it. But I think that if they add someone, it'll be either a late draft pick or somebody fast in free agency.
So now it is time to talk about the best looking and smartest guys on the field. The offensive line.
Punter. Oh. Sorry.
No, in the NFL though, punters punt it forward. Okay.
Hey, listen, that was one punt, and I still averaged.
You're a high school negative punter talking about on Kendrick Bourne.
48 and a half yards net punt.
I don't believe you.
You did get all league in punting.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
Oh, it's kind of, I'm a special kid like.
No, okay, that's nice. Yeah. That's real nice.
So, Alex, there's obviously one glaring name among the offensive linemen.
Oh yeah.
What do we think of the offensive linemen that are?
So, and we're definitely 100% talking about Tom Compton. I know.
I was actually talking about Tony Bergstrom.
Oh, Tony Bergstrom. Yeah, Tony Bergstrom. No, I thought it was Haranis Grasu. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that was the one that was gonna be the most important to you. Yeah. No. Okay. For me, obviously the big name is Trent Williams. That's the one everyone's thinking. What is it? $13.6 million this last year. I think the market values we looked up was like 18.2, somewhere in there.
Close to 19 million.
Close to 19 million. Horst and I were talking the other day, and he said something along the lines of, what was it, Horst? You thought they were going to have to pay him?
Around 20.
Around 20. Just do it. Just get it done. Get him here in San Francisco. Keep him here. You're not going to find a better option out there. You're not going to find a more solid option. PFF, as Horst has mentioned, graded him as the best O-lineman in the NFL at the tackle position. You have to bring him back. You have to pay him whatever it is. He said he'd be willing to take a discount. How much of a discount? Time to go figure that out. Get him back in here and then figure out what you got left to go from there. Guys like Haranis Grasu, probably gone. You're not going to get guys like that. Tom Compton, same thing. I know that he had signed a 2-year deal, but they restructured, as you had pointed out before the show, Ant. So guys like that, probably not coming back. Good chance that a guy like Ben Garland, maybe as a backup option if you're going to keep Brunskill, but Brunskill is on, what kind of contract is it again, Ant?
He's an exclusive rights free agent, so he'll be back.
Okay, so I mean, you got a guy like Garland who could bring back as a backup in case, potentially, unless you're worried about injury potential with him and if he can stay healthy. The real question, I think, on everybody's mind is what's going to happen with Weston Richburg, and they're going to have to make a decision on that. And Ant, you have some info on that, on the Richburg stuff. What are you hearing, and what do you?
Yeah, I think Richburg. I think it really comes down to there's just not enough savings. If you cut him, you save just a little over $3 million. It's like $3.4 million. I'm not sure that cutting him really does you that good of a thing for your salary cap. If he's healthy, you'd rather have the player because he's still a heck of a player. That frees up, Brunskill to move back to guard, which then you have Colton McKivitz to be the solid backup to that, and also you have Justin Skule that can play any of those positions. If you bring back Trent Williams, and then you also bring back Weston Richburg, then you'll finally have that offensive line that you're looking for. You have established Laken Tomlinson was a very good player this season, and then now finally Daniel Brunskill can play guard. I think that might be the best way to handle it for the next year. But I'm not sure what they're going to do after that because, Richburg has signed a couple more years, so they're going to have to make this decision eventually. I always thought this was going to be the year that they moved him, so that way they could free up money for Trent Williams. I just don't see the savings at 3.4. I'd rather value him as a player, which means I'm not sure if Ben Garland comes back. either.
makes
Because
sense.
Ben Garland, he made $2 million this year. I'm not sure at $2 million they'll do that because they do have Daniel Brunskill now that can play over Colton McKivitz and Justin Skule that have proven how valuable they are. So that's what I'm thinking.
I think with Trent Williams, I think we're all in agreement that he's one of those guys you don't let walk out of your building. He's an elite level player. He's probably, outside of George Kittle, the best player on their offense.
There's a chance.
And maybe even including George Kittle.
There's a chance.
Trent Williams is that level of lineman. So I'd be pretty shocked if he wore any other uniform next year.
Do you pay him David Bakhtiari money at $23 million?
I hope not.
I think if it gets to that level, I don't think they'll be able to bring.
Yeah,
him.
I don't think
But
they do it.
I think he also said he did say in an interview he'd be
he
willing to take.
definitely has made it
this
sound
guy.
like he wants to be back.
Yeah.
Tom Compton, I wouldn't assume I'd see back, or Hronis Grasu. I think with Ben Garland, it just depends on the Weston Richburg situation. I agree. When Weston Richburg is healthy, he's a top 8 center in the league, and their line looked a whole lot better with him than without him. So I think I would like to see Weston Richburg back if he's healthy. If he's back, I'd assume Garland no chance because Brunskill can shoot over to center and McKivitz coming at guard. If you have Richburg at center,
Shoot, even school.
without Richburg, you might bring Ben Garland back because he is a solid player. He's a very good backup, and he's still probably close to top half of the league center.
Close.
So
Horst, do you think they'll cut Sean Coleman?
Sean Coleman, I don't see him playing this year on the Niners. I think they save right around $1 million, right, by cutting him, and he's not better than School, and he's like 6-7 years older than School. Sean Coleman's probably played his last game as a 49er. Unfortunate that he hurt his leg and all that, but
Yeah, I think if they had their ultimate dream, they would be able to bring back Trent Williams, Ben Garland, to play with Weston Richburg, play behind them.
Yeah.
I think
with Brunskill at guard.
Brunskill at guard, and I think with Colton McKivitz and Justin Skule as the swing tackle, McKivitz as the guard, and he can also play tackle. It just gives you so much flexibility. I think they'll still probably draft a lineman late. Is that what you're thinking?
yeah.
Or do you think it'll be someone like Dakota Shepley, somebody like that?
I don't think they'll go too early, draft someone too early.
I don't think so either.
And I agree with you that would be the ideal situation. But like we talked about earlier, there's going to be some sacrifices made because of salary cap issues. And Ben Garland's a guy I think we're both a fan of.
Right.
And I think the Niners are a fan of him. But what people don't realize, one, is that he's 32.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been around the league a long time. And two, he's just going to be a little too expensive.
Well, he made $2 million this year. If they could get him at another $2 million, would you do it?
I would.
I think I would too.
Yeah, probably.
Center is such an important position.
It is. The problem is, though, with 23 in cap space, if you're paying Trent Williams 20 and then you pay...
Well, let's be honest. That 20 is... There's no way you can have all 20 counting against the cap this
True.
year.
There's no way you can, but the question is how much is counting against the cap? And with a guy like Garland, most of that $2 million is almost all of it's going to be counting against the cap.
Right.
So it really just depends on how much of that 20 you're paying Trent up front and how much of that is incentives.
Let's
and
be
bonuses.
honest. Once they decide what they're going to do with Jimmy Garoppolo, then we'll have more money because they're going to renegotiate the contract of Jimmy Garoppolo. If he's staying, that is happening guaranteed.
And here's the thing. We're doing this now. We're going to post this. This is coming out on Tuesday. The next one, our defensive special that we're doing, is coming out on Friday, so make sure you're here for that also. By the end of this week or even the end of next week, all of this could be going to the wind because we may have either restructured or Jimmy may be on the outs, and every report's coming out there that he's on the outs. And we got $43 million, and we can do whatever we want there. We got money coming out of our wazoo.
There's also the possibility the cap is not 175.
Also that too.
I've started to hear rumors that the cap might be as high as what it was this year, and it might stay the same because of new TV deals and stuff.
That would be huge.
And if that is the case, the 49ers will have close to $40 million before talking, $44 million before even negotiating with Jimmy Garoppolo. So that's what they're waiting on. They're all waiting on to see what that money is going to be.
That could literally be the difference between them keeping Juszczyk and not keeping Juszczyk.
It could be, except for the fact that there's so many names on defense that it's going to be absolutely ridiculous and way too many stories on the defense. That's going to be one heck of a thing.
One more question for you guys, and we'll just answer it quickly. We can get more in depth on it later.
Yep.
Speaking of offensive players, Mr. Punter, man, do you pick up Mike McGlinchey's 5th-year option? Have to do it before the season.
Man, that's a tough one.
It'd be about $14 million, not this year, but in 2022.
But in 2022, yeah. Oh, man.
Or is that something we're going to need more time to expand
I mean,
on?
that's a tough one. I would
not
say
tough for me.
I would say right
either.
now. I'd say right now that it's a yes because of how dominant he is in the run game. If he wasn't as dominant of a force in the run game, then it'd be a hard no for me because of how dominant he is in the run game and the fact that in all honesty, the Horse had pointed this out a few weeks ago. He isn't really as bad in the pass game as everyone says. He has one bad play game. I think you have to get that 5th-year option in for McGlinchey.
It's 100% for me.
Agreed.
I don't even think it's a question, especially if you've by then you have Trent Williams. You make sure you lock this guy down so you have the left and right tackle established and then look at Shanahan's past and what he's done with the line. The guards always fluctuate, but they always keep good tackles. And I think that'll be a key. This is a guy they don't want to give up on. It's someone who they drafted early. They don't want to admit that they made a mistake. I don't think they did, but they're definitely not going to move on from this guy unless they absolutely have to.
I want you to think about it like this, is that just as we've all, I think, agreed in the past, sure, there are guys out there better than Jimmy Garoppolo. How easy is it to get one? Same thing with Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey, there's not that many guys better than him that play that position, the right side. So, yeah, we can all sit here and complain he had a couple bad games and, missed some pass blocks. But are we going to cut him and stick? There's definitely worse options around.
There are definitely, and there's not as many great options out there. And this year, too, in the draft this year, there's really only one stud tackle, and he's going super stud, phenomenal, franchise-changing tackle, and he's going early. You're not going to get him.
He's going in the top 3.
Yeah, you're not getting him.
Penei Sewell.
I'd pick him over Trevor.
I wouldn't, but yeah. Trevor's a once-in-a-generation quarterback, so I definitely wouldn't make that.
That's what they said about Andrew Luck, and now look at the Colts.
Now he's dead.
Yeah, but it happens on both sides. Think about it.
He's alive.
What?
He's living.
Then why is he playing football?
I don't know, but he's alive.
Andrew Luck is injured, Horse.
I thought he died.
Nope. But you don't know who died and who didn't, so it doesn't matter.
Also true. Also proven by other podcasts. If you haven't seen them, you should check those out.
All right.
Summit.
You have just watched the offensive free agents for the 49ers. This came out on Tuesday. If you want to watch the defense, what we have to say about who's going to be staying, who's going to be going, and who absolutely has to go on the defensive side, you need to watch the episode on Friday at 5:30 Pacific. Don't want to miss it because there's a lot of hard decisions for the 49ers on defense. Whew! We don't even know who the defensive coordinator is going to be.
Oh, my Lord.
But there's a lot of decisions that the 49ers have to make, and it could get a little sketchy.
It's at 5:30 Pacific.
It is 5:30 Pacific.
Is that joke?
Specifically at 5:30.
That joke is going to get old real quick.
Oh, it's already old.
I know.
All right, guys, you know what time it is? Let's chalk another one up.
That's us, boys. That's us.